So, in order to try to elaborate on this issue of leadership, I want to go back to a previous text. It's Exodus chapter 28, and it deals with what the high priest wears. What is his uniform? And in what sense does this uniform reveal to us the nature of leadership as the Bible understands it? So, from Exodus 28, you shall bring forward your brother Aaron with his sons from among the Israelites to serve me as priests. Aaron, Nadav, and Avihu, Eleazar and Itamar, the sons of Aaron. Make sacral vestments for your brother Aaron, for dignity and for atonement. Moses is being addressed here. Next, you shall instruct all who are skillful, whom I've endowed with the gift of skill, to make Aaron's vestments for consecrating him to serve me as a priest. These are the vestments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, which is another kind of dicky, as it were, a piece of this which has straps, which then connects to another parallel piece in the back, an ephod, a robe, a fringed tunic, a headdress, and a sash. They shall make those sacred vestments for your brother Aaron and his sons for priestly service to me. They therefore shall receive the gold, the blue, the purple, and crimson yarns, and fine linen. They are to be adorned, noticeable, unique in their splendor. But then we come to a passage which changes the point of view. On his ephod, on this ephod with straps, they shall put 2 shoulder pieces and take 2 lazuli stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel. 6 of their names on one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the other stone, as stones for remembrance of the Israelite people, whose names Aaron shall carry upon his 2 shoulder pieces for remembrance before the Lord. And on the breastpiece of decision, here, we just talked about these plates. On the breastpiece of decision, they shall set mounted stones in 4 rows of stones. The stone shall correspond to the number of the names of the sons of Israel, Israel being Jacob. Jacob, 12 sons, the eponymous ancestors of the 12 tribes. 12 corresponding to their names, which shall be engraved like seals, each with its name for the 12 tribes. Aaron shall carry the names of the sons of Israel on the breastpiece of decision over his heart when he enters the sanctuary for remembrance before the Lord at all times. Aaron is carrying the names in 2 places on his robes, the names of the people. And then we are going to talk about the headdress. You shall make a frontlet of pure gold and engrave on it the seal of an inscription with the following words: Holy to the Lord. Suspended on a cord of blue so that it may remain on the headdress. It shall remain on the front of the headdress. It shall be on his forehead at all times to win acceptance for the people before the Lord. Now, with this in mind, I want to engage in something of a thought experiment. I imagine Aaron getting up in the morning. He has to get up early, because if he has to be at the tabernacle at a certain time, he's got a lot of work to do to get dressed. He's got all these ceremonial objects to put on himself. And if you're like me, once I've gotten dressed, I go look at a mirror just to see if everything is on right, if my tie is right. When I come in here, I look to see that my kippah is right. So one who cares about appearance, and especially one who is going to appear before people, has to pay some attention to his appearance. And so I imagine Aaron going to his mirror and looking at himself to see if everything is right. And what does he see? He sees the splendid ephod and the robe and the headdress. But he also sees two things: the names of the tribes of the Israelites. And then he looks up. He brushes his hair back, puts his tiara on, holy to God. And he says to himself, this is what I am all about. If he's too tired one morning to notice, okay, the next morning he'll notice. And the next morning after that. Aaron's vocation is to serve. He's serving the people, and every morning when he looks at those names, he is reminded to try to put self-interest aside in order to do what he's called to do, to serve the people. And when he looks up, he sees holy to God. And he says to himself, the goal of my vocation, and boy, don't I look splendid. This must be about me. No, wait a minute. What does this mean? This means I serve a higher power or a higher purpose. Every single day, Aaron has to notice that he is a man in between the people he is serving, below him, we might say, and the God who calls him to serve God in holiness. So that biblical leadership, at least as it reposes in Aaron, has a tripartite structure: the people, the servant, God. We see the same structure when we deal with the prophet. The prophet brings the concerns of the people to God and brings the imperatives from God to the people. And lest Aaron think of himself as a big shot, he has to look in the mirror every single day. Because, as E.E. Cummings says in his autobiography, never have I seen a peripherally situated ego. We are all egocentric. We are, E.E. Cummings goes on to say, the whole ball of wax to ourselves. And one of the functions of civilization, and civilization at its highest, is to wean us from overweening self-interest to which we are naturally inclined, and to try to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a member of a community? All the more so, a leader. This is what the Bible has in mind about leadership. And when in the portion I just read, it said, Vayidom Aharon, and Aaron was silent. He got that point and recognized that a leader has to put his or her own self aside for the mighty role of serving the people and serving God. Here's a question I'd like to ask. Let's suppose Aaron goes into the bathroom, wherever he's going, to look into the mirror, and he has taken off holy to God. What would that mean? It would mean that he is God. That's what our egocentricity might lead us to feel. that we are the whole ball of wax to ourselves. Now, whatever you feel about God, whatever your view is or your belief is, one of the functions of the role of transcendence in our lives is to get us not to think of ourselves as the whole ball of wax. And if holy to God, or its analog, is taken off Aaron's headdress, what does he see? Himself. I had a wonderful friend when I was a boy through high school. We were 10 years old. And if you can believe it, we were talking about what does it feel like to kiss a girl? And he said to me, I know why it feels so wonderful. Because we live in our heads. This was a 10-year-old boy. And that's the danger of taking holy to God off the headdress, because all we then see is ourselves, and our faces represent ourselves. Think of the meaning of the word responsibility. Responsibility comes from the word response. To have responsibility is to respond to a need or to a value. It's to subordinate oneself to something other than oneself. So I want to suggest to you that any person who thinks of himself or herself as a leader and doesn't understand the nature of biblical leadership cannot say that he or she loves the Bible. To love the Bible is not to have it on your shelf, but to put your soul into its soul and absorb the ethos, the values, the aspirations of that text that you claim to love. Biblical leadership is to put oneself aside for the sake of the people you serve and the values to which you aspire.